Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MFC Middleweight Sam Alvey. Sam, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. Sam, you got a fight coming up at MFC 36 on February 15th. Before we get to that fight, you were recently on Season 16 of The Ultimate Fighter. How was that experience for you?
It was a great experience, a real awakening to exactly how much talent is out there.
Mm-hmm.
I made it onto the show. It was a great experience, and I would recommend it for anyone else. Hopefully I'll have a few more teammates make it onto future seasons.
Mm-hmm. Some of the guys that you train with at Team Quest have experience with The Ultimate Fighter. Dan Henderson was one of the coaches for Season 9 of The Ultimate Fighter. Richie Whitson, he was on Dan Henderson's team on Season 9 of The Ultimate Fighter. Another teammate of yours, Jesse Taylor, he was on Season 7 of The Ultimate Fighter. Did those guys, did they tell you what to expect going on the show? Did they give you any advice about going on to the show? Or is it one of those things where you just kind of have to experience it for yourself?
You know what? They all told me, don't do it at 170. The weight cut for 6 weeks is going to be too bad. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I know better than you guys. And it turned out they were right. But, that's the little bit of advice they did give me, I kind of ignored it.
Mm-hmm. And now, obviously, like you just mentioned, a thing that you learned was not to take a fight at welterweight. But what were some other things going through that process did you learn, being on the show?
You know what? There were just a lot of things. Our coaches, Team Carlin, they were incredible coaches. And I learned a ton, fighting techniques, lifting routines, cardio workouts, just anything and everything a fighter should know. And I learned more of it than I thought possible in just 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. What's the best part and what's the worst part about being in the Tough House?
The best part is getting to train. And I get to train outside of there, but it was a bunch of guys my size, maybe a little smaller, and they were at my level. So that was the best part. The worst part was everything else. You sit around almost the entire time doing nothing. And that got really hard. You'd wake up and have nothing to do for 3 or 4 hours, then you'd go work out. Then you'd get back and have nothing to do for another 4 or 5 hours. Then you'd come back, and then you had the rest of the day to do absolutely nothing. So that was a very difficult part of it.
Mm-hmm. The weight cut down to 170, how tough was it for you to make that weight?
Not that I couldn't make it again, but the problem with the show is you have to do it, for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
When I found out that I was going to be on the show, I had 29 days to cut 40 pounds. So I made that, and then, I got up to 196 the day after I made weight, and then 6 days later I had to get back down to 170. And that was just, apparently I couldn't do it. It was a bad decision to choose to fight so early in the house. I should have waited longer and given myself more time to naturally lose the weight.
Mm-hmm. What was your diet looking like throughout the entire show? Because you fought early and then you lost, but it was a pretty close fight, and had they brought you back, anything can happen. Somebody gets injured, you might have been brought back into the competition. You never know. What was your diet like through that whole process of not knowing? I might have to fight again.
I kept my diet up the entire show because I was praying that I would get back into the competition somehow. So throughout the whole series, I never got over 190. I stuck around right about 190. And that was so difficult. In the Tough House, you get all this, whatever you want, you get. If you want ice cream, if you want cookies, if you want this or that, they'll bring it for you. And so everybody else in the house is eating whatever they want. And here I am, eating my lettuce or maybe my eggs. The same thing every day. It was a very bland and boring diet I had.
Mm-hmm. Would you do it again?
You know what? I would. I wouldn't lose if I did it again, but I would do it again. It was difficult, but it was an experience almost nobody in the world has, and I got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Just curious, why did you want to be on that show? Was it one of those things where, this could be a fast track for me getting to the UFC, or was it one of those things where if I get on this show and, I'll be able to get some exposure, get some new eyeballs on me that have probably never seen me before, and maybe if it doesn't work out with the UFC, another organization might scoop me up?
Going into the show, my goal was the UFC. I'd been trying to get on the show a couple times before, and they kept dropping my weight class. Mm. 205 because 85, 85 to 70, 70 to 55. family when they called me saying, "Hey, can you make 70?" I said, "Sure, I'll be there." And the whole goal was to get in the UFC. It didn't quite work out for me. I lost my fight, but one door opens, one door closes, another one opens. And MFC stepped up, and they saw what kind of winning streak I was on and how impressive my wins have been leading up to the Ultimate Fighter, and they offered me the shot against Elvis.
Mm-hmm. Only 4 guys from the show ended up making it to the UFC. Colton Smith and Mike Ricci, the guys who fought in the finals of the Ultimate Fighter, they made it into the UFC. John Manley and Neil Magny, they're going to be fighting here pretty soon on February 23rd at UFC 157. Were you surprised that you didn't make it to the finale and that other guys in the house, didn't get to fight on the finale? Or did you kind of know that, hey, maybe I'm not going to be able to fight on the finale because, Dana White had come in and said, hey, you guys better step it up, and he wasn't very impressed with this season. Were you surprised that you didn't get to fight on the finale, or did you kind of see it coming?
I was convinced I was going to be in the finale. I was the biggest guy in the season. I had one of the biggest records. I had knockout after knockout on my record. And then to get into the house, I had the knockout of the season. And then I didn't get in. And so, that hurt. But again, one door closed, another one opened. And shortly after I found out I was not going to be invited back, the MFC stepped up and gave me this incredible shot.
Mm-hmm. When you left the show, what did the UFC tell you? Did they tell you, hey, go out and get some wins and we'll bring you back? Or was it kind of just, hey, thanks for being on the show, and you never really heard back from them? What exactly did the UFC tell you after the show ended?
They said get a couple wins and then, talk to us again. And so I may or may not be fighting for the UFC eventually. I'm going to get my couple wins, but I'm not looking past, this upcoming fight on the 15th. It's a huge, opportunity and experience that I'm going to be taking full advantage of.
Mm-hmm. When you got home from the house, you obviously no contact for 6-7 weeks, whatever it was, cooped up in that house. What was some of the first things you did when you got home?
First thing I did is I called my now wife. She was my fiance at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't talked to her in 7 weeks. I couldn't wait to find out what she had been doing and tell her what I had been doing. And really, after that, I went back to the gym and started working out again. I didn't know when I was going to fight next. I knew it was going to happen, and I was, never going to lose again. So that was really the big thing. Mm-hmm. My life and my workout.
Mm-hmm. Do you keep in contact with anyone from the show, whether it be a fighter in the house or one of the coaches?
Matt Secor and I, we became buddies. We played a lot of chess together during the season, so we still play chess over our phones now. And then Neil Magny and I are pretty good buddies. I talk to him every so often, and he keeps me informed of when he's fighting, and I do the same for him. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, I still keep in contact with the coaches, Team Carlin and everyone at the Grudge, Coach Trevor, and everyone. So I've been keeping in contact with, a couple of my buddies and the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you have a great team with Team Quest, but if ever an opportunity to go up and train with Trevor Whitman and Shane Carwin, would you do that?
I've already been up there.
Oh.
Once I got back from the show, I've been up to Colorado. I spent about 2 weeks out there working with them, and I was, seeing what the altitude will do to me. And it turns out the altitude's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 weeks of trying to catch my breath.
Mm-hmm. And now the MFC, they came in and signed you. Now, was it when they signed you, they said, hey, we want you to fight for the title, or was that a separate call? How did it all come together with you signing with the MFC and getting this title fight?
Both my managers are Jason Chambers and Nate Villa from Apex Sports Agency, and they were the ones that was in contact with the MFC. They've had a good working relationship in the past. So I'm not exactly sure if we asked for the title or if they offered it to me. But either way, I wanted a tough fight. I wanted to be able to show the world that I belonged in that house and I belong in MMA. Mm-hmm. So they did just that. This is going to be an incredible fight. Elvis hits hard, kicks hard, wrestles hard. He does everything. And when I win this, it's going to be a real fight that I can hold my head up to.
Mm-hmm. When you got the call saying you were going to fight for the title, obviously, leading up to this point, I think you're 4 4-1 in your last 5, so you've been doing pretty good, and that loss was a majority decision. Were you surprised at all when they said, hey, we want you to fight for the title?
Well, I've been telling everyone that loss I have was not a loss. I was absolutely robbed by the organization.
Sure.
I got there to New Zealand, and the promoter was the referee. I was never going to win that fight unless I knocked the guy out. So I like saying that to everyone because I was on like a 7-fight win streak with 4 or 5 of them coming through knockouts. So it was, I'm honored to have this title shot, and I'm glad that the organization, that the MFC saw that I was on such a big winning streak, and that they're offering me this title. I'm going to represent their company very well when I have that strap around my waist.
Now you're fighting Elvis Mutapcic for the belt. In this fight, where do you see yourself having the advantage?
My advantage is who I train with. Team Quest is the best team in the world, and I am prepared to take this fight any direction, whether it be standing or on the ground or both. I think my advantage is in my experience. I've got close to 30 fights with my amateur fights thrown in there, and I think I'm going to be able to take this fight any way I want to.
How much footage of Elvis have you watched?
As much as I can find. He's a fairly well hidden athlete, but the stuff I've seen is he's very impressive. He's got some big knockouts, some big kicks. His takedown defense is top notch, and it looks like his takedowns are pretty good too.
This fight is going to be taking place in a ring. You fought in a ring before in the past. Most of the training footage that I've seen you at Team Quest, most of the training footage I've seen you do there has been in a ring. Would you say that you're more comfortable fighting in the ring, or does it really not matter to you where you fight?
The arena doesn't matter to me. In a ring, I'm 2-0 with 2 knockouts. In a cage, I've got more fights, but my percentage isn't quite as good. So cage or ring, it's plus or minus, but I'm comfortable anywhere.
Mm-hmm. And now, going up to Canada, Team Quest, the 2 guys who have won the title from Team Quest were from the Portland gym, Nathan Coy and Pat Healy. Sokaju, your teammate, he lost a close fight, which I thought he won against Ryan Jimmo. Has Sokaju, has he helped you prepare for this fight?
Sokaju and I go a lot together. Mm-hmm. He's a little bigger than I am, but he's a coach himself, so anything he sees I need to work on, he's not shy about pointing it out and correcting me. So he's a great coach, great teammate. Mm-hmm. And
who will be in your corner for this fight?
My corner is the same corner I have for every fight. My wife, McKee Sullivan. She's been in my corner at every one of my professional amateur fights, and there's nobody I would rather have in there.
Mm-hmm. You got this great opportunity coming up for MFC. Not that it really matters anymore because you've got this deal, obviously, with MFC, but I'm just curious, what happened with Bellator? Because you performed well when you were fighting for them. You were 1-1 under their banner. You had a split decision win over Carl Amasu and a split decision loss to Vitor Viana. I'm just curious, what exactly happened with Bellator? Did they give you a release to compete on The Ultimate Fighter, or did you just have a 2-fight deal and you fought out that contract and they just didn't re-sign you? What exactly happened with Bellator?
After I lost to Vienna, they just released me. There was nothing else said about it. They just said, hey, thanks for coming, and don't let the door hit you. So I was released from them, and then it was about a year after Bellator, and 5 fights, I believe, until The Ultimate Fighter picked me up. So it was a great experience with them. Very professional organization. They were looking to go a different direction than me, and it all led me to this title opportunity with the MFC.
Mm-hmm. I was just curious about that because you performed well for them, and I just wondered what exactly happened there. And also, another thing that I've been wondering about for a while now is you were supposed to have a fight with Paul Bradley for King of the Cage, I believe in July of 2010. You were supposed to fight him at an outdoor event. The fight was no contest due to rainfall. Now, could you go back in time a little bit with me and sort of relive what exactly was going on in your head when you found out that your fight was canceled because of the weather?
Oh, absolutely. It was the biggest fight I had scheduled to date against Paul Bradley. And we got out there. I had a great camp. I had worked with a ton of wrestlers. I was really ready for the fight. And there was an outdoor event at one of the best casinos in Wisconsin, Lake of the Torches. And the fights before mine, it started raining. And not just raining, like pouring down rain. And so the casino and King of the Cage, they came up to both of us and said, hey, if you guys want to fight, we'll throw an extra $1,000 in it, but it'll be a no contest, whether you win or lose. And he said yes, and my wife said no, but I said yes. So we went out there, and it was just pouring rain on us, which is, that I wasn't injured. I didn't blow out my, ACL or anything. It's cool to look back on. It was a big audience. It was outside, bright lights shining down us, just pouring. Unfortunately, because it was so wet, we could do nothing. I mean, we could kind of sort of stand in place and slide across the ring. So I think I hit him once, and then I slipped, and then he crawled on top of me, and every time I bridged, I slipped again, and he tried to pass the mountain, he'd slip, and so that they called it after the first round. But it was quite the experience. Like, I really enjoyed the opportunity and to fight in the ring at least once.
Do you have any footage of that anywhere?
You know what? I'm not sure. I would have to check my archives. If I did, it would be in my parents' house. Yeah. Back in Wisconsin.
Yeah, because I had no idea that this fight, I mean, at least a round actually took place, so that would be kind of interesting. Because King of the Cage had a Wet and Wild event where the fights were actually counted, and it was in the rain. So hearing this, it kind of reminds me of that a little. Yeah.
It was definitely, for Bradley being the wrestler, the rain was to his advantage. Even if no damage is really done by either of us, it's hard to get up when you can't plant your foot.
And when you were on The Ultimate Fighter, you guys got to see Here Comes the Boom, and there's a scene in that movie where they're fighting in the rain. So did that bring back some memories for you?
It did. After seeing that scene, I told everyone in the house I had fought in the rain once, and they were all pretty interested. They didn't believe that it happened, but I had too many facts and dates to back it up.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Sam, you're married to America's Next Top Model. How do you become America's Next Top MFC Middleweight Champion? What's your prediction for the fight?
My prediction for the fight is that my hand gets raised, when they're choosing the winner. I predict it'll be finished. I'm not sure what round or how, but both of us swing way too hard and are too aggressive for it not to come to a dramatic conclusion.
Sam, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
I gotta say, thank you to my corner person, McKee Sullivan, my team, Team Quest, and then my other team, my fitness, strength, and conditioning coaches, Dynamic Fitness, that they get me in shape for every fight. And again, if anybody ever wants to ask me a question, hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Smiling Sam, and I do my best to respond to everyone. If anyone wants, anything, to say I'm awesome or to say I'm terrible, just hit me up, and I try to respond to everyone.
Sam, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck February 15th at MFC 36 against Elvis Mutapcic.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on.